All right, welcome in. Brian Edwards, MajorWager.com, talking college hoops with you today. We're joining you at 3:35 p.m. Eastern on Tuesday, and we're going to get to some of my picks today. Going to look ahead to some Saturday games, but first, let's get you updated on the bubble picture. Obviously, there's a lot of bracketologists out there, but ESPN proper is the main, I guess, station that most are on. I mean, there's Jerry Palm at CBS Sports. There's a guy I like, Bracket Guy Dave. I think it's at Bracket Guy Dave. I believe it's his Twitter handle, but his website is Bracketville. But we're gonna go by Lenardi, Joey Brackets, and now this was going into Monday's action when only one bubble team was in play, that being Kevin Keats' NC State squad that led for a decent chunk of the first half at Duke. Only trailed by 2 at half, but Duke ran out on them, extended the lead, and covered the 12.5 point number. So NC State was it was actually the first of the first 4 teams out going into last night. So they get a minor bump down, but if at all, because, I mean, it's Duke at home, even though Duke had lost 3 of 4. So going into last night, the last 4 buys for Lunardi were Xavier, Indiana, Rutgers, and USC. The last 4 in were Cincy, Wichita State, Utah, give me 2, State, not the Utes. And by the way, look to fade the Utes when they are on the road. 10 in a row, they have lost on the road. And Stanford was the last team in, and Stanford got a nice win over Colorado at home Sunday night. And they've really played a lot better after they got off to a great start this year. And then one of probably my worst beat of the year was when they were up by 20 and change at half at USC. They were up by like 7 with 45 seconds left. End up losing in OT, and I lose as they were like a 2-point dog that game. And that sent them into a funk, but I believe they've now won 4 in a row, straight up and against the spread. And one of those was at home against Utah, give me 2, which gets back to my fade the Utes premise, if you will. All right, the first 4 out, I mentioned NC State. Then there's Richmond, URI, Rhode Island Rams, Hale State being Mississippi State from Starkville. Next 4 out, Texas, Purdue, Memphis, and South Kakalaki. So, 7 of those teams are in action tonight on Tuesday. And a few tidbits on those games, and a heads up for the early tip. 6:30 p.m. Eastern tonight, Mississippi State at South Carolina on the SEC Network. And bear with me on my voice here. The pollen is out in force here in Northwest Florida. It's got my sinuses all messed up, and therefore my voice. But it's doing decent so far. So hope it continues. All right, Frank Martin's team, 11-5 straight up, 7-9 against the spread at home, and South Carolina's lost 3 of its last 4, and the only win was a fortunate one in overtime to Georgia. The total is 147. I like the over. The over's cashed in 4 straight for South Carolina. Those combined scores have been 176, 184, 166, and 155. The over is 10-5-1 for the Gamecocks in SEC play. When these teams met in Starkville, Mississippi State won 79-76 for 155 combined. The over on a 10-3 run for Mississippi State, but one of those unders hit 153, but they were at Bama, and so it was under 157.5, but 153 would obviously be north of the number tonight, 147. So 10-3 run could be 11-2 if we're comparing it to the line that we're using tonight for the total must win for both teams. Must win for both teams. All right, I wrote about Rutgers in January. They're on its way to their first NCAA tournament since '91. Probably still are, but I mentioned they're now in Lunardi's last 4 byes. As my voice does start to fade on me, my apologies. Rutgers sitting at 18-11 straight up, 16-10-2 against the spread, 17-1 at the rack, where they host Maryland tonight as a 1-point favorite, 11-5-1 against the spread at home. But the Scarlet Knights have lost 6 of their last 8. So they need a win tonight against Maryland. I'm not saying they're out or anything if they lose, but Maryland in bounce back mode after losing at home to Michigan State, and kind of got a miracle win at Minnesota last week. They were way down. I think they were down 17 at halftime at the barn, but they rallied and won by 1. Scarlet Knights have had more time to prep. They've had a whole week. They lost last Wednesday at Penn State by 1. They had come back from a huge deficit, had taken the lead, and Penn State hit a 3 with about 25 seconds left. And then Rutgers missed a potential game winner at the horn. When they met in College Park, Maryland won 56-51, but I had Rutgers in that game as a 7.5-point dog and covered. All right, Penn State hosts Sparty tonight. Sparty, 1-point road favorite. They've won 3 games in a row since they had dropped 4 of 5 and went 0-5 against the spread. But Izzo's team's only 3-7 against the spread in 10 road assignments. But like I said, one of those 3 covers was in College Park the other night. The Nittany Lions are 14-2 straight up, 10-6 against the spread at home. The under is on a 9-2 run for Penn State. And it has cashed in 5 in a row. When these teams met at Breslin Center, Penn State went in there and won 75-70 as an 8.5-point road underdog. Myrion Jones hit 6 of 8 threes, 20-point game. Jones had missed 6 games in a row with an unspecified illness, but he came back in Saturday's loss at Iowa. He only played 23 minutes, only had 4 points. And but he averages 13.7. He was actually averaging 14.1 until that 4-point effort. So he had been out 6 games. They got him back. He shouldn't be as rusty tonight. Cincinnati cannot afford a bad loss at USF in Tampa tonight. They're -4. The unders are 11-3 run for USF to improve to 20-8 overall. Wake at North Carolina tonight. Wake 8-2 against the spread. They're 7.5-point dogs. They're 8-2 against the spread with 4 outright wins in their last 10 as underdogs. And Wake has won back-to-back games, including the rally to force OT and beat the Dukies. The over 14-3-2 for Danny Manning's team in its last 19 outings, and Wake is 9-3 against the spread in its last 12. Now, North Carolina's won back-to-back after they just lost a slew of heartbreakers, and they're in revenge mode. They lost 74-57 at Lawrence Joel in Winston-Salem, where I've been once, and the Gators pimp slapped my Illinois in the 2000 NCAA tournament on the way to the finals. DePaul's Paul Reed, questionable tonight against Marquette. That's a big deal. Reed averages 14.9 points, 10.6 boards, 2.6 blocks, 1.9 steals per game. So I mentioned Texas and the next 4 out. A lot of talk about Shaka Smart. God, my voice is getting bad. Let me try to clear it. All right, here we go. See if that's a little better. So I like Texas tonight. 6.5-point dog at Oklahoma. They've won 4 in a row. They've won all 4 by double digits, including in Lubbock as an 11.5-point dog Saturday. They beat West Virginia. Man, West Virginia's struggling for buckets right now. Oh, and I like the under on West Virginia tonight, 138. I also like Iowa. Excuse me. Iowa's -5 or 5.5 at home to Purdue. Huge revenge game for the Hawkeyes, and they got C.J. Frederick back this past weekend. Excuse me again in that Saturday win over Penn State. Huge revenge. They lost. I mean, they got boat raced in West Lafayette, 104-68. So, Iowa, the big revenge mode tonight. They've won 13 in a row at home. They are 11-2-2 against the spread at home this year. Only one outright loss was actually to DePaul way back on November 11th. So there you go. I like Texas, Iowa, and Mississippi State, South Carolina over, and West Virginia under 138. Let's see what else I've got. I've got a big article about all the games tonight on MajorWager.com, and my colleague Blake Von Hagen broke down the Tennessee-Kentucky game, which is a pass for me. I love how Kentucky's playing, but Tennessee in desperation mode, catching 9. I don't know if I want to lay quite that many. Updated futures at DraftKings. KU now the +700 chalk. Next shortest odds, Baylor at 9-1, Gonzaga 9-1, Duke 12-1. My side team besides my Gators, my Dayton Flyers 15-1 or 15-1 odds. Been saying they're going to win it all for months now. Ever since I've been saying it, they still haven't lost. On that note, Obi Toppin now the -143 chalk to win the Wooden Award. But back to the futures. Louisville 16-1, Maryland 16-1, Auburn, FSU, Kentucky, and Sparty are 20-1. Looking ahead to tomorrow, the best games for Wednesday. Lines aren't out yet. I'll give a stab at them right now. Villanova at Seton Hall. I will say Seton Hall -3-ish. Dayton at Rhode Island. Dayton -4.5. Xavier at Providence. Providence -5.5. Providence is hot. Coming off a nice win at Nova. Wait. Yeah, they won that game outright. Yeah, they won by 4. Minnesota at Indiana. Both teams need that one bad. I really don't. I don't even think Minnesota. He might even be below 500. Although I know there's no enormous shame in that in the Big Ten this year because it's so loaded. But I got to go Indiana minus. They've been pretty good at home lately. Terrible on the road though. I'll go Indiana -5. Florida at Georgia. Now, if Florida loses this one, Florida closes with Kentucky Saturday. If Florida loses this one, then they drop back into the last 4 byes probably. And then if they were to lose to Kentucky at home, who knows? They could be a part of the last 4 in going to the SEC tournament. And if they were to get upset by whoever they play first round, whoo, might be an anxious selection Sunday for me. I'm trying to think. I really haven't had many anxious selection Sundays on the bubble in a long time. Not in a long time. I mean, last year it could have been, but when Nembhard made that shot to beat LSU in the SEC tournament, and then we kind of sort of quasi got cheated against Auburn when they admittedly, by Bruce Pearl's own words, how long is this video going now? 15 minutes. All right, we need to hustle up. Yeah, He said, we were trying to foul, and they did foul, and nothing got called. But anyhow, I was kind of glad, actually. I didn't want us to have to play 4 games in 4 days, and it worked out. We did meet Nevada in the first round. Okay, look at Saturday. Wisconsin at Indiana. Obviously, we don't know Indiana's result tonight. About a pick 'em. About a pick 'em. Indiana minus 1.5, 2 at home. Auburn at Tennessee. Auburn's just been awful on the road. God, I mean, I almost want to say Tennessee by 1 or 2. I'd love for Auburn to be favored there. If Tennessee's a home dog, doesn't have any injuries tonight against Kentucky, I would lean Tennessee there. Nova at Georgetown. Georgetown's had some injuries. Let me click this and see. I don't know if Mac McClung was back last game or not. Let's see. Oh, no, he's still, it says out indefinitely. Yeah, Georgetown's without a couple of their key players. Lost by 3 to Xavier. Yeah, Georgetown. It looks like they're out of it. Poor Patrick Ewing. I love Patrick Ewing. Okay. Kentucky at Florida. I mean, Florida was favored against Baylor. I love how Kentucky's playing. And by the way, I'm not against Kentucky at 20 to 1. I talked some futures with Todd Dewey of the Las Vegas Review Journal last week. And he used a bunch of my quotes in one of his columns a couple days ago, if you want to check that out. Kansas at Texas Tech. Man, Texas Tech is struggling. I mean, they played tough last night, lost in overtime. But in fact, I think Lunardi had Florida matched up with Texas Tech in an 8-9 game in his bracketology from yesterday. Baylor at West Virginia, anything 125 or more, play it under. And even in Morgantown, man, Oklahoma just slapped West Virginia the other day. And what a sweat that was for my under. It was 25-21 at halftime. And it kind of got a foul fest, and I was sweating bullets on that one. I needed it bad, but I got it. West Virginia missed like 4 shots. God, they are bricklayers. Poor Huggy Bear, man. They're always good on defense. He's got no offense this year. Oh, wow. Rutgers at Purdue. Man, that makes them need that win tonight even more against Maryland, which I don't want anything to do with that game. You know what? Georgia at LSU. I don't like how LSU's playing right now at all. Will Wade's a terrible coach. All that athleticism, and they are just so horrible on defense, so lazy. Will Wade, effective recruiter, horrible coach. Yeah, dude, I like how Georgia's playing. That's why the Gator game there tomorrow kind of scares me, especially with the way Georgia jumped all over Florida when they played at the O-Dome. Billy D. Court. Georgia was up by like 21. I think it was this. It might have matched or the second biggest comeback in program history. Not only did we come back, we might have covered. I know I had betted in game in some second half, which was easy winnings. Oh, but back to that Kansas at Texas Tech. You got to make Kansas favored there, maybe -3. Rutgers at Purdue. I know Purdue's been great at home for the most part. Not so much against Michigan. What was that, 2 Saturdays ago? Purdue, 5-ish. No more than 6. If Rutgers is getting 5.5 or more, I'd like Rutgers there. Wow, Seton Hall at Creighton. That's a really good game. I like how I really like how Creighton was playing until the other day. They got upset. But they had been playing well. McDermott does a good job there. I thought they'd fall off when he lost his son. They've played well for a couple of years now, actually. But Creighton's got to be favored at home. 4, maybe 5. Alabama at Mizzou. And wait, where's Alabama? Oh, and Alabama's got Vandy tonight. So they win those 2. It doesn't help them much, but whatever. They got to have W's. They're probably They're going to have to beat probably Kentucky or Auburn in the SEC tournament to have any shot. Wow, good game Saturday. Louisville at Virginia. I love how Tony Bennett's team is playing. Louisville's been bad on the road. It's got to be Virginia. Louisville's lost, 3 in a row on the road? Georgia Tech, Syracuse, and FSU. Weren't they at home Saturday? I think they were. Virginia's got to be favored. Not by much, but 2-ish. Let's see. Houston, Miami, who cares? Arkansas at A&M. Now, that's going to be a very interesting case for the committee. Arkansas, that is. They went 0-5 without their second best player, Isaiah Joe, when he had his knee scoped in early February. And I think they've won all but one game since he's been back. And I want to say they're 18-6 with him. But 0-5 without him. But 2 of the losses without him were in overtime, and another Reggie Perry for Mississippi State had a tip in at the horn at Bud Walton to beat him. So, we've seen in years past, the committee take into account if you lose a player and you lose some games, but then you get him back and your team as constituted going into the tournament is with him, sometimes you get a little leeway for maybe losing some games without him. And to go 0-5 without him, but 2 be an OT and 1 be on a putback at the horn, I think they should get a little leeway. Now, they still got to finish strong, and obviously, they got to win that game at Texas A&M, which they should be favored by. Not by much. 3.5, 4. I think I'd make them 4. All right, let me scroll down a little bit. Later games. Egg Bowl rematch. Mississippi State, I'll make them 7 against Ole Miss. Let's see. Oh, another injury for tonight. Petty for Alabama. He's questionable elbow. He missed the win the other night against South Carolina. He averages 15 points, 6.6 boards, 2.6 assists, and 1.1 steals per game. The over is on a 7-3-1 run for Bama to improve to 18-10-1 overall. They've got the Commodores at Coleman tonight, 8:30 p.m. Eastern. SEC Network. Yale, those are my boys, the Bulldogs. They're cashing a lot of overs. They are a legit Sweet 16 threat. When I write my bracket analysis column, like I do on every Selection Sunday, we're 12 days from Selection Sunday. It's March, baby. Love it. I will have Yale. I always say double-digit seeds, best chance to make the Sweet 16, and I'll list like 3 or 4 and tell you why. Yale's going to be one of them. Butler at Xavier Saturday, 8:30 p.m. Eastern. Xavier -1. Okay, I think that about does it for Washington at Arizona. Yeah. So tonight, I like Texas +7, under 138. West Virginia over 140, 6.5, 47. Mississippi State, South Carolina. Iowa -5. Trust the Hawkeyes at home. I wonder if this might be the last chance we get them at home. And Petty and Reed, Alabama and DePaul, respectively, are your game time decision question marks. You need to check before you make bets on those games. I'm Brian Edwards, MajorWager.com. Also wrote some NBA about J.J. Redick and a bunch of other trends, and talked about the West, the race for the 8th spot in the West with and Damian Lillard's going to be back for Portland tomorrow. Sorry about my voice. Brian Edwards, MajorWager.com. Over now.